I was in a leadership program with my city, the city I live in, that the Chamber of Commerce put together. And in that leadership cohort, there was a pretty big group. There's about almost a dozen people from the local community college, which is higher education in the Santa Cruz Valley. Santa Cruz Valley's 400,000 people, pretty much as far north as you can get from LA City, but still part of that area. And I was impressed by a couple of the folks, and I'd been at the time I was retired, and I was looking for stuff to do. Thus, I was in the leadership thing because it was fun. You learn about everything that's happening locally and who the players are. It was really good. And I had tried to volunteer for Scott Wilkes Group, which is a local congressman thing or a state assembly, and I'd offered to volunteer at the Chamber of Commerce, and then I mentioned that there's not a lot of structured volunteer opportunities within the organizations, and I understand why. There's a lot of rules around volunteers, and in California in particular, a lot of work related, job related rules. Anyway, I had mentioned I'd be interested in volunteering, and there was one person out of that group at the school said, "Great, come to my office tomorrow."
Oh, great.
And so I did. I showed up, and she was a instructor for English. She was chair of the department, and she had this ambition through a student group, because it was a student club, of setting up a TED Talk. They call them TEDx talks at College of the Canyons. But she didn't know how to do it. She didn't have any speakers. She didn't have time to manage logistics and everything. She said, "How would you like to do that?" So that was a year-long project, which culminated in a fantastic TEDx programming and all that. But that's how I got involved in academia. I'd never been involved in academia before. I'd always been involved in regulatory affairs or environmental compliance or energy conservation or some other financial thing through ICR Investments hedge fund or whatever. And the idea, I'd never really done that. And so once I started paying attention and I was volunteering at this organization at College of the Canyons, I started realizing how much I missed the idea of my personal beliefs being aligned with the mission of the organization that I'm spending time at, whether I'm being paid or whether I'm whatever. And I had worked and volunteered in energy conservation and financial management and lots of things over the years. And but never really was. It was always aligned in a little bit, but really there was like an extra step past actually day-to-day operations before that alignment happened. But at the college, it was instant. I automatically saw the value of higher education and the role that it plays in creating societies on Earth that can solve a lot of the problems that I've been working on in the rest of my career that had felt hopeless. And in particular, I started really seeing the particular value that community college plays in its three-pronged mission that really aligned well with everything that I really thought was what was needed over the previous 30 years of my career at that time. She's now 40 years. And so I really had felt like it was good, and so I was hooked. And then push came to shove. Now, how did I get into international? Well, I've been doing international work and international travel since the fall of the Berlin Wall and the collapse of the former Soviet Union. And I'm of the age where I grew up in elementary school ducking under my desk for drills for nuclear weapon drops that were going to happen in my elementary school and stuff like that. So I grew up with all that, and here I was. So I was, and the reason I mention that is because when you get into the business of international education, it doesn't take long before you're out on the road.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't take long where you realize this isn't for me. Because traveling for international travel is not vacation travel. It is brutal.
Yeah.
Long days, no sleep, bad food, you get out of shape really fast, and you come back and you got to crawl your way back up, and then you're right back out on the road again. And it's exhausting. can't have personal relationships.
Yeah.
You can barely, I mean, sometimes it doesn't even make sense to rent an apartment. I mean, the first couple of years I was on the road 200 days a year. So I've been doing it for a long time, and then the chancellor at the college here decided that she wanted to turn the fledgling sort of money loser international education program at the community college into what it really could be, based on what a few select other institutions around the United States had accomplished. And so that person who had asked me to be the volunteer for TED Talks was tasked with doing that, regardless of whether she wanted to or not. She was told, no, you need to do this. And she said she would do it if I helped her. So then I started volunteering for her operation in international. And then it didn't take long, and we started learning the rules of the road. And as a volunteer, there's a lot of things you can't do. You can't answer the phone.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to spend any time with students. All these things. So then I kept on being shoved up the ladder of, from part-time temporary worker. Now I can answer the phone, and the union won't freak out, and then working my way up until finally I kind of lodged myself and have put my hands up to stop any other movement in as director of international programs here at College of Canyons. And I've loved it all the time. It's a hard as hell job, probably the hardest job I've ever done. And for the most part though, there's some easy parts on it. Like it's very easy to get up in the morning and come to work.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm going to meet with a student and work on, say, their college essay to go to Berkeley, which from a community college is a great dream, and it happens all the time. And that kind of stuff is really rewarding. So that's kind of how my pathway, how I got into international education. At some point I realized, hey, you should have a doctorate degree if you're going to be in academia. And if I'm going to be traveling around the world, it's much better if my name is Dr. Tim rather than just plain Tim. So I get my doctorate degree. So I went and got my doctorate. Memorable moments. So something that keeps up coming into my mind all the time is, there was this big excitement about these 2+2 scholarship program. Historically, scholarship programs which are state sponsored, typically they like to look at the top 100 schools, for example, and things like that. Here's the big thing that happened, which was really helpful for me. We showed up at the office of the folks that run that program, and they instantly said, we're never sending a student to you, Tim. Never. You're not in this program. And then they went on to explain why and everything. And I started thinking, okay, well, that makes sense. All your reasons for not wanting to send a student to College Canyons, it's not really you don't want to send it to College Canyons, is you want to send, and you've got all these other rules you want to try to, and mission and program and everything. And, I don't think it'll work, but it doesn't matter. It's their program, and that's what they want. And I realized right then and there, succeeding as high school students, they're not in the right environment. They play with their friends too much. We need something for them. They don't have good grades. They don't have high SAT. They don't have confidence in themselves in the academic world. So who was gonna reach out to that one student at that one high-end, expensive private school in the UAE who no one else will take, and get them into a top quality bachelor's degree program through 2+2 transfer? Because the government's not going to do it.
Yeah.
So who's going to do that? And I realized my niche is not to come to UAE and get 100 students. My niche is to come to UAE and get one student, one kid that is being written off as you don't have the potential. Because I've seen in the 10 years I've been here, students like that from all over the world completely blossom at a community college because they get a lot of support, a lot of structure, and they're away from all the old distractions. And I've seen them blossom and go get bachelor's degrees and get jobs in California. These are kids that everybody said, you need to go drive a taxi. You're done. And so I realized right then and there during that meeting, and because of the structure and the access that we were given because of SimSplit, we got to have that meeting with those people. Otherwise, they would never talk to me. They won't answer the phone. They won't answer my emails, nothing. So it handed to me what my mission is, and that's to get one kid wherever I go. Just give me one. The one kid nobody else wants. That's the kid I want. We'll turn him into a winner. And that just made me feel great. I've been getting up, going to work on that ever since the SimPled event. I may not be the most qualified person to answer that question because as a community college, and in particular at a community college which has great programs and great success rates, but otherwise no redeeming qualities whatsoever. I've got no beach location. I'm in California, but I'm an hour north of Los Angeles. There's so many other choices. I'm just happy to have anyone be willing to take me out and show me around, like is what happens at events like what SimPled does. And so I really don't know. I can't differentiate between SimPled and any other organization necessarily, because I'm just on the bus, going with everybody else who's more important than me, and just really lucky to be there. So SimPled may have access to things that I don't have access to, but I really don't know yet because I'm so limited in my ability to really discern between the differences. What I do know is, from a logistics standpoint, it was excellent on every level. Even when there was problems, we easily adapted and pivoted. And I've been on other places where when something shifted or something wasn't working, a little bit of chaos occurred. And that can be kind of irritating. But never had that problem. So maybe SimPled's niche is their logistics are top notch. And that could be great. And that's an easy one. I've been asked that question quite a bit. There's two things that College of the Canyons that I need. I need access to the likelihood of a visa approval in that area for a community college. Because community college visas are hard to get. The State Department doesn't have a lot of confidence that a community college applicant is really doing what they're supposed to be doing on an F1 visa. The likelihood of immigration is really hard, and they're right. Many people around the world look at the F1 visa through community college as an access for immigration, and the F1 visa that's not what it's for. So if I could have anything, what I would like some data-based evidence that shows the likelihood of a particular candidate being able to get a visa. And the reason I ask for that is because I'm constantly asked by the decision makers at College of the Canyons about the ROI on when I ask for, say, $10,000 to come to UAE. And in order to do that, I need some evidence of some kind. And right now, my evidence is weak. After the fact, I find out often that was a big mistake. Maybe I shouldn't have invested in that area because I'm never getting a visa. Those kind of things. So visa approval is one. That's one. The second thing I need is I need a meeting with the U.S. Embassy director that runs the program. But when somebody applies for a visa, they get run through the ringer in the back office, and the decision is made whether or not they're going to get the visa or not, and it's up to the student to blow it or switch the answer to yes from no or whatever. And that's why, in 99 seconds, almost every single visa interview is over, sometimes before that. And I need access to them because I believe through anecdotal stories from other people who are recruiting that if the embassy actually knows who you are and that you are one of those community colleges that follows the rules and is very strict about student success and things like that, I think that the visa approval rate could go up. And that visa approval rate is everything. I have no trouble attracting students to College of the Canyons. But like all community colleges, getting visa approval is really almost impossible for most of the world.
Yeah.
And the students are told at the visa interview quite often, in 10 seconds, oh, you applied to a community college? The kid says, yes. You should apply to a real college. No visa. And then the kid calls me up and said they told me I'm supposed to apply to a real college. It happens all the time. And it's just visa officers' way of saying, you know, you don't have enough money,
Yeah.
you're going to drop out, you're not going to, without insulting the family or the kid. Instead, they just say, hey, you know, community college isn't real. Apply to a real school. So I need FaceTime with embassy people, and I need current statistics that show in that regional area that Simplet is taking me, here's how visas work. Here's how the program works. Here's the likelihood that a visa for a community college is going to happen based on data. Those two things would be fantastic. I would love that. Professional is a word that I'm going to pick. And the reason is because every aspect of the Simplet process, from figuring out how to pay you for it, to being on the bus, to eating a meal, to getting on the airplane, to being picked up, everything was professional, top notch. And I've been on a lot of trips. And I'm at the point now where I'd just rather do my own trip because it's frequently so much hassle with providers like Simplet. And because I chose the word professional, it's because I would definitely do Simplet trip in any of their region areas rather than go it alone on my own. Logistics are always work, so it makes sense. Yeah, I'm just going to go with that. Good luck with the rest of your interviews. Bye-bye.